A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, peace and blessings of God be with you wherever you may be, as the case may be. Assalamu alaikum, namaste, om shanti, dearest beloved divine friends and family. Guyana at this moment, at this minute, is at a crossroads of greatness, or crossroads of ownership by a few warlords, by which pandemonium, pain and terror will strike the hearts and the minds of the Guyanese people. We have already seen what has happened. Our country has been bankrupted. I have told them in numerous articles and publications and on Facebook and on the internet, shared on WhatsApp around the world, that Guyanese are no masochists, and that they, within the 5 years, they wanted change. They spoke that 2 years ago in the regional elections, or what is referred to as local government elections. And my dearest friends and families, the fact remains, they didn't learn anything. And they siphoned the wealth to their families and friends to enrich themselves and their family and friends, and gave out all the powerful land. So today, I want to get this out to the people for them to understand what is happening, to get into the heart of what's taking place. So by the time we get the result, hopefully by the time the day ends, you will have already received this information that I want to send to you. Here I have a president who has lost his purpose, David Granger, at the crossroads. Incidentally, I just mentioned Guyana is at the crossroads. I didn't even see this. President Granger, as you know, I personally liked him and I was embellishing him, but is now accepted by yours truly as a commentator, a professional, or one without any political leanings, to make it quite clear and simple that it is obvious that it's not just Mr. Joe Harmon and his group of acolytes, but also, as Mr. Robert Gates has said in his Facebook posts, famous investigator locally and internationally, the president was all the while involved in the shenanigans of the elections madness Guyana 2020. This is part 58, 1 to 58. So pay attention please to the information I will give you now, ladies and gentlemen. An appeal to His Excellency the President still, until the declaration, President David Arthur Granger, Brigadier. Sir, I've written you many wonderful letters. And personally, I appreciated you. But down and out, it's that you are a politician. And politician likes to pull wool over people's eyes and play games with their minds and would sacrifice their country. And sir, a great disservice has been done to this land by some of your people. And now it's been shown that you're a part of it. Those who advise you wrong, they have nothing to lose other than maybe their fat purse or pay packet that they collect. But you, sir, you have your elegance, your dignity, your honor. You have your children and your grandchildren to look up to you. You have the children of the nation to look up to you as a former president of this country. Mr. President, at this juncture still, it is time to regain that conscience of divine humanity, the spark of light and life that God has blown into you and to all of humanity, to let that conscience awaken again to righteousness and speak the truth and come out there, regardless of what they tell you, before the declaration and say and declare and concede, Mr. President. I would have liked to see you in another term. But the things that have been done by your people have damaged and demolished you, sir. And I say these things openly, without fear. And I know there are some people within your group that like to take vengeance and destroy. So I have retired. I've sold the company out. to a corporation. So I don't care what happens. And I'm telling you after this, if after this some skullduggery takes place, then I will become a terrible fighter with all my power and skills. And this independence that I have and justice will become one of the greatest weapons against a lack of democracy, against undemocratic norms, and for the righteousness of this country. Mr. President, I beg you, as a child of God, a love of the universe and of all peoples, concede, sir. Concede before the declaration. Sir, concede before the declaration. And friends and families, I ask you to listen to this. And these articles that are hot at the moment. Send to your friends, send to your families to understand what is going on. It's the world speaking here. We have already seen the Carter Center, the diplomatic powerhouses of the United States, the United Kingdom, and Europe already pronounced on the importance of having a proper, credible election. So some people went about trying to make certain internecine interference using their skullduggery and thievery to say that it was not credible. Here is a president who has lost his purpose. Guyana, David Granger at the crossroads. By Professor Daniel K. Gibron. In his quiet moments, he sits and ponders his faith. He senses that power is slipping away from him, but the words that form his thoughts are eluding him. He listens to his advisors bellowing their cacophonous sounds, swelling to a crescendo, a quickly dissipating into thin air. He has become a man with a seared conscience, struggling to find his way out of a morass of his own making. And in spite of strenuous mental efforts to regain a modicum of balance, he continues to grope in mental darkness. But the dawn of a new week has brought with it a ray of sunshine into his empty soul. But it is not the sunshine he anticipated and envisioned. But David Granger was looking forward to this coming week. Salvation at last was in sight. Good news was just around the corner. The recount would vindicate him. It came, but not in the way he expected. The results were devastating, leaving him with a painful emptiness and deep mental and emotional anguish. Two blistering reports, one from CARICOM and the other from the Organization of American States, have blindsided him. These reports, unassailable in their conclusions and puissant in their analytical rigor, have finally driven a nail in his coffin, extinguishing any flickering hope he was still entertaining. His dream of electoral victory and a return to political power evaporated in public view, and David Granger, caught between a rock and a hard place, finally realized that he's fighting a losing battle. In his tortured soul, he still believes that he can salvage his tarnished reputation and live to fight another day. But this new week is only 3 working days long, not 5. So time is running out. The 17th is Declaration Day, and Granger is trembling. But he makes another desperate move. This time he plays a new tune, with words that are jejune at best, words bereft of any substance. And the opposition leader was not dancing. Rightly, Mr. Jagdi repudiated Granger's mumbo-jumbo, did not recognize either the words or the beat of that music. David was playing the rhythm of the Ancient Mariner, while Bharat was attuned to Sohani Raat. Having lost the election recount, David Granger continues with his fulminations and empty rhetoric. He yearns to portray himself to the Guyanese people as a messianic leader who can be trusted to lead Guyana to the promised land of economic recovery, development and prosperity. His entourage calls him His Excellency, but his deeply troubling recalcitrance to concede in the face of overwhelming evidence, one that is inexplicable at best and risible at worst, of further evidence of his unfitness to lead Guyana. This is all from Daniel K. Gibson, PhD, retired Professor of International Relations and Security Studies and Fulbright Scholar, Tennessee State University, Nashville, Tennessee, USA. And he says, in his messianic cloak, we behold a megalomaniacal political leader whose only subjective is a naked grab for political power and a display of perverse and profound contempt for the rule of law and for democracy. He knows that voting is a fundamental to democracy and that the will of the electorate cannot be trampled. But he is willing to trample on the sacred rights of the people who rejected him in a fair and free election. As the sun sets on a man who once showed so much promise, rising the hopes and aspirations of thousands of Guyanese at home and abroad, we see this man struggling to let go of power in the sunset of his tenure. And so, President David Granger, I say to you, that is, in this iconic moment of your presidency, when your legacy is weighed in the balance, be a man and take your licks. Failure to do the right thing, and you know what that is, would ineluctably cast you in the appellation of another megalomaniac who drank the Kool-Aid many moons ago in our homeland. You have lost your promise. You have lost your purpose. It's time to go. You have a handsome pension of US $15,000 per month to collect. Oh, really? $15,000, $3,000, $3 million per month? With car and driver and... Take it before the treasury runs out. Wow, I was shocked at that. I didn't read this before. Wow, these guys know how to put things in place so that they can live well when they're out. Ladies and gentlemen, my second reading is this. OAS tells Guyana to accept elections recounted and hand over power to the opposition. And this is from all the newspapers, including the Kaicho News, the Guyana Times, except the Chronicle. The Organization of American States is calling on the head of Guyana's Elections Commission to declare the country's opposition the winner of the disputed March 2nd regional and presidential vote, and for President David Granger to hand over power to allow the legitimately elected government to take its place. The OAS made the call Monday while welcoming the findings of an observer team from the 15-member CARICOM community, or CARICOM, or the Caribbean community, and following the contention by the country's chief elections officer that the elections should be thrown out due to irregularities. In his final report on the 33-day recount, submitted Saturday to the Guyana Elections Commission, Chief Elections Officer Keith Lowenfield said the results do not meet the standard of fair and credible elections. He cited multiple allegations of irregularities. The Elections Commission began meeting at 1 p.m. yesterday to consider his report, as well as that of CARICOM, which issued a 152-page document on its findings and recommendations. The hallmark is this, as they're asking for President David Granger to concede and hand over power or prepare for a smooth and a beautiful transition. OAS says low-infield actions are disappointing but not unexpected. The Organization of American States, another part from the Guyana Standard, has The Organization of American States has pledged unequivocal support for the credible results of the election of votes cast in Guyana's March 2020 elections. The organization is adamant that there is now nothing stopping the chair of the Guyana Elections Commission from declaring the election. In a statement released today, OAS noted that the report submitted by Chief Elections Officer Keith Loingfield on June 13 records multiple allegations of irregularities by contesting party. I repeat, by contesting party. I repeat again, by contesting party in each district, which are then used as a basis for determining that the electoral process in each of the 10 districts was not credible. OAS stated that there is little evidence in the CEO report of efforts to investigate or otherwise address any of the alleged irregularities presented. OAS further noted his contention that the entire election be set aside on the basis alone is astonishing. The OAS says to set aside the entire election on this basis alone is astonishing. Emphasis mine, repetition by me. In his statement of April 15, 2020, prior to the commencement of the recount, the OAS had recommended the exclusion of any official who had displayed partisan behavior during the electoral process. While the CEO's approach to his report is therefore disappointing, it is not unexpected. OAS referred to the statement of June 4th, which noted that OAS observers present on each day of the national recount have reported that the process was conducted in a professional, transparent and impartial fashion, which allowed members of GCOM, political parties and other stakeholders to accurately determine the results for each polling station. OAS reiterated that there is no reason not to support the results of the recount process. Further, OAS said that it wholly supports the findings of the CARICOM team of scrutineers, that the results of the recount were transparent and credible, and nothing prevents the chair of the Guyana Elections Commission from now declaring the election based on these results. OAS said that the elections were held to determine the will of the people, and once the people's wishes are clearly stated, they must be upheld, not only in instances where they favor the incumbent or the government of the day. In this case, the results published in the report of the Chief Elections Officer himself make it clear that the opposition PPPC has won the favor of the majority of Guyana's eligible voters. Their will must be respected. The OAS, the Organization of American States, calls on the current administration of Guyana to begin the process of transition which will allow the legitimately elected government to take its place. And the next one, Commonwealth Secretary General urges acceptance of the inescapable recount results and welcomes CARICOM report. The Secretary General said the CARICOM Observer report is clear that the recount results are completely acceptable and that nothing that the CARICOM observers witness warrants a challenge to the inescapable conclusion that the recount results are acceptable and should constitute the basis of the declaration of the results of the 2nd March elections. In a statement supporting CARICOM's assessment of the Guyana vote recount as acceptable, Commonwealth Secretary General Patricia Scotland urged acceptance of the recount for it to be used to declare the results of the elections. The Commonwealth Group is made up of 54 nations and fielded one of the larger observers' mission for the Guyana elections. The Secretary General said the CARICOM Observer report is clear that the recount results are completely acceptable and that nothing that the CARICOM observers witness warrants a challenge to the inescapable conclusion that the recount results are acceptable and should constitute the basis of the declaration of the results of the 2nd March elections. She added that the President Granger and the leader of the opposition demonstrated commendable leadership when they agreed to the recount and committed to respect and adhere to the recount results. This continued leadership and commitment is needed now more than ever, according to the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. The people of Guyana have been patient and deserve finality as determined by the recount results, Scotland said. The Commonwealth, the Secretary General noted, continues to stand with Guyana and urge the leaders and the people of Guyana to live up to the lofty aspirations set out in your constitution, your electoral laws, and the Commonwealth Charter. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture I will not read the CARICOM report or a synopsis of it, as I have a meeting very shortly, but you get the message, or the essence of the message of the CARICOM, that it is acceptable, that they found that the elections were credible, and they found the elections up to date, and that it should be declared in favor of the opposition up to this time. Yours truly take the opportunity to wish His Excellency the President, as he is about to demit office, prosperity, good health, good sense, and to try, Mr. President, to try and concede before the dark clouds step in. I'm not laughing. I'm not mocking anyone. I'm just sad that certain people who are in power try to destroy me. But that does not matter. I stood impartial. I gave the news to the people as they wanted and as they needed in Guyana and around the world, incidentally, which has made me an iconic reader with the tens of thousands and tens of thousands and tens of thousands of requests that's coming. So with the peace and mercies and blessings to good health, Mr. President, before you demit office, I say God bless you, I bless you, I honor you. I know you tried to help me in instances, but your ministers did not respect you, they did not fulfill your orders. I wrote you about it, and certain other people tried to block you from truly engaging with the people, Mr. President. David Arthur Granger, they truly blocked you from creating that image of justice and goodwill and joy that would have lingered in the minds of this country, the Caribbean, around the world forever. Please don't become a pariah, former President. Peace and blessings. Yours truly, me, brother, your brother, HAJJI ROSHAN, can say thank you for tuning in. And from this, the Elections Madness Guyana, on the RKS Guyana Free Media, HAJJI ROSHAN saying farewell, friends.